guys. Today we're going to focus on text features. Text features helps readers comprehend what they are reading. They're especially helpful when reading nonfiction text. Text features include all the parts of a story or article that are not the main body of the text. Let's look at some examples of text features. We will start with text features that are complete pages. So for instance, we'll start with the title page. Here's an example of a title page. The title page is located at the beginning of a book. It tells basic information about the creation of the book. What information can be found on the title page? The title, the author, the illustrator, the publisher, and the year it was published. So here's the title, a book about frogs. Here is the author, written by Melanie Amphibian. Illustrator, which is Philip Tadpole. And the publisher, Children's Science Publication. And then the year it was published, 2012. And what year was this book published? 2012. And what company published this book? Children's Science Publications. Now we're going to look at the table of contents. The table of contents is located at the beginning of the book. It lists the chapters found in the book. What information can be found in the table of contents? The name of each chapter. Here's the name of each chapter. And the page number where the chapter begins. For instance, chapter 1, Origins, begins on page 3. Now, in which chapter would you find out what a frog eats? So we have chapter 1, Origins, chapter 2, Habitat, chapter 3, Diet, chapter 4, Life Cycle. So, in which chapter will we find out about what frogs eat? In chapter 3, their diet. And in which page would you turn to begin reading about the life cycle of a frog? So we'll look for the life cycle of a frog, chapter 4. We're going to scroll over and we're going to begin on page 12. Now, what would you be reading about if you were on page 9? Well, let's look. Do we see page 9? Now, that's a question that's a bit tricky because page 9 is not listed. However, I know that the page number shows where the chapter begins. Therefore, the pages that follow must also belong in that chapter. So, for instance, chapter 1 has pages 3, 4, 5, and 6. Chapter 2 has pages 7, 8, and 9. Chapter 3 has pages 10 and 11. And chapter 4 begins on page 12, but we don't know how many pages are in chapter 4, so we don't have enough information. Therefore, what would you be reading if you were on page 9? So we know that chapter 3 starts on page 10. So we look back before, we know that the habitat would be 7, 8, and 9. So we would be reading about a frog's habitat. Now, here's a picture of an index. An index is located at the end of the book. It helps a reader quickly find a certain topic in the book. So what information can be found in an index? The important concepts related to the topic listed in alphabetical order. And the page where the concept can be found. So for instance, if you wanted to find information about a spawn, on which page or pages would you look? So let's go in alphabetical order, A, B, C, S. Now we're going to find spawn. So pages, we would look 7, the dash means through, so it would be on pages 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so pages 7 to 9. So now, here we go. The dash means through, so you can find information about spawns on pages 7 through 9 or pages 7, 8, and 9. Now, the comma means and, so you could find information about a frog's skin on pages 14 and 21 and on page 35. So, an index lists all of the pages in this book that contains the information about amphibians. So, we have pages amphibians. So, we're going to list all the pages that this book contains information about amphibians. Okay? So, we have pages 1-3, so that means pages 1, 2, and 3. Then we have pages 14, and remember, comma means and page 24. So this is a glossary. So in the glossary is located at the back of the book, at the end of the book. And some glossaries contain punctuation guides, which tell the readers how to pronounce the words. All right, so what information can be found in a glossary? 1, vocabulary words related to the topic, and they are listed in alphabetical order. Also, each word's definition. What does amphibious mean? Well, it's in alphabetical order, so let's see if we can find amphibious. Amphibious, that's the punctuation right here, and it means able to live on land and in water. So there's your definition. Now, which glossary word describes an organism that needs oxygen to live? Okay, so let's look at the definitions. Here, describes an organism that needs oxygen to live. So what is it? Aerobic. Now, before we move on, we're going to discuss guide words. All right, so these are sometimes found in the glossary pages and is always found in dictionary pages. So basically here it's going to give you the first word on the page and the last word on the page, okay? So you can determine by alphabetical order which word would fit in between there. All right, so guide words indicates the first word on a glossary or a dictionary page and the last word. So these are helpful when a reader needs to look up a certain word. So since the reader knows that the glossary is in alphabetical order, it allows him to determine whether a certain word is on a given page. So let's pretend that this is just part of a glossary page. Notice how I changed the second guide word. So it went from food to fruit to food to habitat. Now, would egg be found on this glossary page? Would the word egg? Well, we know that it goes in alphabetical order. So let's determine the alphabet. E comes before F. So no, egg would not be on this page because it starts with food. It starts with the letter F. Okay? Now, grass. Would grass be on here? So let's look. Let's do it. We got from food to habitat. So we have F, G, H. Yes, G falls between F and H. So yes, we could find the word grass between food and habitat in ABC order. Okay? Now, hereditary, would it be found on this page? No, it's not going to be found on this page because remember, when we're doing alphabetical order, we go by the first letter, then we have to move on to the second letter if they are in alphabetical order. So therefore, heredity comes after habitat in ABC order. All right, so it's not going to be found on this glossary page. All right, so now we're going to move on to headings. Here's headings. Here it is all about frogs. All right, a heading indicates that a new or broad section is being introduced. It tells the reader what the section is going to be about. What is the heading of the section shown on this page? All about frogs. Then you have your subheading. Your subheading indicates that a new specific section is going to be introduced. So the subheading is just one section that addresses the topic introducing the heading. So how many subheadings are shown on this page? 2. How can you tell the difference between a heading and a subheading? Well, a heading is written in larger. The heading is written larger while the subheadings are written smaller. The heading appears first and then the subheadings follow. Also, the heading introduces a more general topic, while the subheadings introduce a more specific topic that are related to the overall topic. Now, can you help me out? I am writing a research paper. Which of the following would be the best heading? All right. So, Mount Rushmore, Old Faithful, American Landmarks, and the Grand Canyon. American Landmarks. Why? Okay, so I understand now. American Landmarks is the general topic, so it must be the heading. The other 3 phrases are specific examples of American landmarks. Therefore, the other 3 phrases would be good subheadings to use in my paper because the Grand Canyon, the Old Faithful Geyser, and Mount Rushmore are all American landmarks. All right. Also, bold words. All right, so we're going to go talk about bold words. Bold words indicate important words. They are darker than the surrounding words in the text. They are often vocabulary words that can be found in the glossary. Words in italic. They indicate important information. These words are slanted, whereas the rest of the text is straight up and down. The author wants the reader to remember this important information. Bold points. Here's an example of bullet points. Bullet points indicates a list of words, phrases, or sentences that are related to one overall topic. Dots are often used to introduce a new line to the list. So different types of amphibian types. Frogs, toads, newts, salamanders. All right, so then it's going to show us here checkpoints, boxes, arrows, and their other small figures may be used in place of these dots. So you can use checkpoints, boxes, arrows. The next one we're going to talk about is a hyperlink, and you guys have used these several times before. So this is a hyperlink. You can click on this hyperlink right here, and it'll take you to the website. So someone will put a hyperlink in, so you'll be able to go to a source. A hyperlink is a digital link that takes you to another location, such as a website. Here's a text box. Sometimes you guys will find a text box in your readings. A text box is a box with additional information written in a sentence form. A text box contains the information that is interesting but not essential for the reader to know. Now, finally, we are going to name some graphic text features. These show information in a visual form, okay? So this is a photograph, all right? A photograph is an image that has been captured with a camera, all right? It's a real-life image. Name a reason why an author would use many photographs in nonfiction books. He would want to display a real-life example to help readers understand the topic. And also, he can capture the reader's attention. Now, this is an illustration. An illustration is an image that has been drawn by hand. Now, which one is the difference? Here's the illustration, and here is the real-life photo. All right, so that's the illustration. That's a photograph. And how do we know? Because this image right here, you can tell that it's been drawn by an artist. This one right here looks like it's a real-life image, and the camera has captured it. Now here is a caption. This caption is a sentence